Just play the cartoon.
We'd love to, really, but the Warner execs won't allow it.
Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes commentary. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing as it helps out the channel, and give this video a like if you do like it. So this is a commentary for Tortoise Beats Hare, released in 1941. It's the 319th in the series, and it's directed by Tex Avery. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 2 DVD set, the Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 2 DVD and Blu-ray set, and you can also find it on HBO Max. It also features two audio commentaries, one by historian Michael Barrier and another one by Chuck Jones, talking about Tex Avery, called through various interviews. And as we watch this marvelous introduction of Bugs not saying the names properly, let's introduce the gang for today. So we've got Steph Silly, Eli Copperman, Blue Jellicey, and Fox in the Fix. Say hi, guys.
Hi, folks. Hello.
Should I go now, or...?
We had to have a big... no, you're staying put. No, I'm not gonna shackles at any point.
I think Bugs is reacting to our names.
So today... Pretty much.
Oh, he is pissed.
But... Absolutely. So just to let everyone know, this will be a normal commentary at first, and then afterwards we'll have a discussion, because this is a kind of a milestone in a way. It's the first of 3 Cecil Turtle cartoons, which again we'll get into in the discussion. But it's also the second Tex Avery Bugs Bunny short after Wild Hare, and there's plenty of interesting things to say about how Tex handled the character this time around. And also, before we discuss it, it's also very similar, and in fact it's a bit of a parody of the 1934 Silly Symphony, The Tortoise and the Hare. So, what do you think, guys? Great cartoon or what?
Yeah, this one's a classic.
It's okay. In all seriousness, my opinion is that it's a good cartoon, but my main issue with it is that, and you'll see this a little later on, it's kind of just a one-joke cartoon. And again, you'll see it as it goes on, but let's just say this is my... And I know a lot of Tex fans are going to hate me for this, but this is my least favorite in the Bugs and Cecil Turtle trilogy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I feel like that's kind of a fair opinion to have. I mean, the Bob Clampett one, as well as Friz Freeling, I always felt was stronger than this one.
Definitely.
So the Tex Avery made a cartoon later on called Dumb Hounded, right, with Droopy, who keeps popping up everywhere. But at least in this cartoon, there's a reason for Cecil popping up, and that's because all his relatives are there.
See, that's what kind of ruins it for me, because we already know what happened. Whereas in Northwest Hounded Police, when we see all those other Droopies, you had no idea that they were there, which makes it even funnier, you know?
What do you say, Cease? Chet, you know that slicker rabbit.
And of course, we see a gag which has been done before in Looney Tunes by Tex Avery, where you got like the split screen, and then one of the characters just goes into the other part. And we also see another gag where you got the normal telephone, and of course, long distance being really long telephone, which is one of the stupid things. And why would there be a phone next to a lake like that in that way? I always thought that was weird.
Well, the phones are in trees, so...
The only problem with this short is that it takes so long to set up the story. Like, we're already halfway over, and it's the plot of the cartoon has just begun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Chuck Jones, in that commentary I mentioned before, on the Platinum Collection, where they culled together different points of the interviews about from Chuck when he's talking about Tex Avery, and he does make a point that when Tex Avery does his cartoons, they all start very slow. All of them start off slow, and then they just pick up in the pace. Like, none of them seem to start off quick. And I'm just trying to think whether there are any Tex cartoons where they started off really, really quick. Can you guys think of any?
I'm thinking about the Uncle Tom cartoon where they introduce all the characters very slowly. So that's not a good example.
Well, a
Yeah,
wild
a lot
Hare
of them do
did
start
it.
off pretty slow.
Yeah.
It's still slowish.
Yeah, I guess Thugs with 30 Mugs was a little slow at first, and then the momentum kicked up. Or maybe,
Yeah, so I guess we'll leave it up to the viewers. If you can think of a Tex Avery cartoon that doesn't start off slow, that it actually starts off like the really fast pace, like, yeah, definitely put that in the comments below. But Of course. But, this cartoon, look, I think it's funny. I think it's pretty solid. But I do have to side with you guys. Actually, my favorite one is the Clampett one. But we'll definitely get into that once we get into the discussion part. But for what this is, it's pretty good. But it also illustrates, and again, we'll discuss this further, that even Tex didn't really get why Wild Hare works so well. Because in this one, Bugs is pretty much a loser, whereas in Wild Hare is a winner. So
I also want to quickly add that Tex Avery himself in later interviews would say that he basically felt that it was a miracle he didn't get sued by Disney over the Rabbit's design being really close to Max Hare, which was from the Tortoise Beats Hare short that Disney did. And what's the second cartoon Tex Avery does with the hare?
Well, to be fair, the story is based from Aesop's Fable, and Avery throughout his history of Looney Tunes, he's done fairy tales and fables and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's just a big coincidence.
That's true. But you think that if somebody was worried about being sued, they wouldn't make it even closer than it was before?
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. I just love Cecil's expression. I've always loved Cecil's voice, which is basically Barney but even stupider.
Cecil's such a great character. They should have used him more.
They should have used him with a different character.
With Daffy or something.
I hope you be stuck on your own shell.
And see, this also doesn't
Love
make
the
the
animation.
Clampett
Look
cartoon.
at the acting.
This also doesn't make the Clampett cartoon make any sense because Bugs knows what happens at the end of this.
right.
Oh.
How did they not have Bugs Beauty? So, guys, stick around because we're going to have a discussion very shortly. Don't go away.
Welcome to another Toondudes commentary. This time, we're jumping all the way from the 20s to the 40s. We're going to do the first roughly 17 Tom and Jerry shorts on the channel. And Tom and Jerry is something I love, but hate the people who currently own them because they decide to, copyright block me all the time. But here we go. This is number 1. Puss Gets the Boot. Released February 10th, 1940. And you better believe for the occasion I got some guest commentators. We have an Animation Talk, Anthony. You want to say hi?
No.
Okay, well, that's the current gag. And Fox and the Fix for the first time on the channel, I believe.
Yeah, it's my first time, and I do want to say hi. Hi.
Well, thank you for being polite. So, I think the first thing we need to talk about is how, compared to, Mickey or, Bugs Bunny, when they were starting out, these two are closer to, what we know as Tom and Jerry, but still there's, very clear differences. Jasper here, that's the cat's name in this first short, a lot more, cat-like.
Yeah, he certainly becomes more humanoid later on.
Yeah, very furry, which they would streamline over time because with Hanna-Barbera, they're always looking at, how can we make it cheaper. And yeah, you'll notice later on they'll do things like remove the third whisker on each side, and they'll smooth out the body, they'll just change things just to make it easier and cheaper to animate. So,
well, I don't blame them. Trying to animate all that fur must have been so painful.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to imagine what it would look like if they used the modern designs for these scenes, and if their personalities would be a lot different or not. Because I'm trying to figure out if these personalities are different from what we know.
They're very
Jerry's
close.
It's very close. Jerry's a little bit less confident than normal, I guess. That looked like it hurt.
They're supposed to.
Well, there's your thumbnail right there. The whole finger in the eye right there. Definitely do that. See, you're recommending thumbnails on my channel. I'm going to recommend thumbnails on yours.
Fair enough. I also should say that, unfortunately, the MGM studio has a lot more negative stereotypes of African Americans than I believe most other studios did. I feel like it's a lot more common in the Tom and Jerry's because, unfortunately, Mammy Two Shoes was a very common recurring character in the shorts. She's not in every single one of them, but for the first little bit, she definitely appears very often, like a third character to the dynamic.
But I will say this about Mammy Two Shoes. Like, see, when I was growing up, I just thought this was a lady who owned this house and she had this cat. That's what I thought. I knew nothing about what the stereotype actually was. Actually, maybe a maid or whatever. I honestly thought as a kid that it's just a lady that owned the house.
I thought it was her house.
I always thought it was her house too, because you never see any other people living here.
Well, maybe it is her house.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of progressive, right? To show like, in a way, it's a little bit more progressive because to show an African American woman well off in the 40s, and she's always having these huge elaborate dinners for Tom and Jerry to mess up, like.
Yeah, but also, why can't a housekeeper be an African American person?
Well, I think we're getting way off track here.
We are. Let's talk about the colors.
I will say one more. I will say one thing though. The performance by Lillian Randolph. She was actually in one Looney Tunes cartoon, which I'm not going to say the name because that's the band commentary. She was actually in that one over on my channel. But she gives off a wonderful performance in these cartoons. Despite the stereotype. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, well, absolutely. The MGM studio, despite, that little snafu, has probably some of the most timeless cartoons of all the studios, I would say. Like, I don't know if I have a tier list, but I would definitely say, and this might be controversial, but I'd put them over the Fleischer studio.
Well, also, I don't think Tom and Jerry has any radio gags, right?
Yeah, they definitely play a little bit less to like what was popular at the time. That's some really weird animation of Jinx.
Jinx.
Yeah, that was their original names, Jasper and Jinx. And then because this cartoon was done a little bit in secret, well, not in secret, but they didn't believe another cat and mouse cartoon would succeed. But then audience members loved it, and so they made it a full-on series. That sounds very familiar to something else, doesn't it, Anthony? That's the same story that happened with the Sylvester and Tweety shorts. Yeah. People just love cat and mouse cartoons. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's been done to death, but they're always successful, usually.
Yeah, I mean, Tweety is a bird, but the point still stands. It's like cat and small animal type things for sure. I want to also mention an observation here. See, this cartoon, for those who might be seeing this for the first time, think of this short as like a pilot. Like with a lot of successful TV shows, they would usually film a pilot, and some of the times they'll film a pilot, they'll release it, and then they'll just change up a lot of things immediately in the second episode because they'll gauge what worked, what didn't, and so on. So this is like a pilot, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we also mention that this one was nominated for an Academy Award, but lost to its own studio with the Milky Way?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen the Milky Way since the last time we talked about that. I believe it was on the Wild Hare commentary on Anthony's channel. Go subscribe to him if you're not already. I assume a lot of you are, though.
I am.
Are you?
I am too. And also subscribe here, please. Anyways.
I did.
Good. Okay. Where was
Subscribe to me too. I'm uploading Dutch stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's correct.
The Milky Way.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The Milky Way did not deserve to win. I'm sorry. I don't. Not only is A Wild Hare a lot better than that cartoon, but this is a way better cartoon. It's the same studio, so I don't know what happened there, but not that Tom and Jerry never won any Academy Awards. I believe they're tied for the most.
Well, Ising was involved with both of them. Rudolph Ising, although this one he had barely any involvement, but his name's on there as a producer, unlike Quimby will be later on.
I love how he has to pull a patch of fur just to do that. See, watching this when you're used to the newer Tom and Jerry's, I'm like, where's the scream?
Where's the violence?
Yeah, I mean, everything has to start somewhere, and I think this is a pretty solid first attempt at a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Well, what's your thoughts, Anthony?
Well, if you think of it as a pilot, I think it's pretty solid, and you can see that in later shorts, they take the good bits, they get rid of the so-so bits, and yeah, great cartoon.
I think it's pretty good. It looks really good. Although I think there are prints out there with better colors, but we'll have to do this one. We'll have to do. And how about you?
I think this is fantastic, but we're out of time for now. So join us next time as I continue covering more of these. So, boo, whoop, boo, whoop, whoop. Welcome to Toondudes and a very special new series I'm doing. Basically, we're going to cover all 15 of the first Mickey Mouse cartoons from 1928 and 1929, basically the 1920s. And to celebrate this, we have a very special guest, somebody you probably really well know if you're into animation and you're also watching me. My good friend Anthony from An Animation Talk. You want to say hi?
No. That's going to be my gimmick, isn't it? No, hey guys, we're watching a cartoon of literally no importance whatsoever. No, I kid, of course I kid. This is one that really started it all. Animation had obviously been around before this one, but animation never took off until this one cartoon with its beautiful synchronized sound. When it was released, some say November 18, 1928, some say earlier, some say later. It had a weird release, but yeah, it's one of the best things ever made.
I was going to say, really quickly, apparently Anthony is an Oswald fan.
Oswald
and there's the parrot. There's the parrot that no one understands. What is he supposed to be saying?
When I was a kid, I thought it was saying something like, "Where's that bum blum bim bum ba ha 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 ha." It's so unintelligible. But that is apparently Walt's voice doing it, and what he actually says has been a matter of debate for a while. But I can reveal what Mark Kausler says it is. Do you want me to reveal it, or do you want to reveal it?
Go ahead. We should also say really quickly. We should probably say beforehand this information mostly comes from Mickey Mouse and the Ultimate History. I'll try to put a link to where you can buy it on Amazon, but understand there'll probably be a Canadian link. So, you can probably just use that information to find it elsewhere or something.
Yeah,
So
no,
go ahead.
absolutely.
Drum
But
roll.
he basically says, hope you don't feel hurt, big boy. Hope you don't feel hurt, big boy. But it doesn't even match. I mean, I believe Mark Housley, when he talks, you listen, basically. That's how high up, in terms of his knowledge about animation is. But it just still feels wrong, if that makes sense. But
Well,
look, I'll take
considering
his word for it.
how little money this probably was made on, I bet it's just a bad recording that they couldn't redo.
Yeah,
Probably.
because this was done on Cinephone, which was like a very primitive sound system. Because no one would support Walt Disney's venture really, except for Pat Powers, and and that alone has so much history to it. Again, read the book that we're recommending, because if you want to know a lot more about it. But essentially, it wasn't the best thing in the world, and and Walt wanted to use a superior system, but he was under contract for a while using the inferior system. So once the contract ran out, he went straight on to the better system. So that's why a lot of these earlier sound Mickeys don't sound the greatest, but it's still history anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand the contemporaries at the time, like, Walt was basically robbed of his original character, Oswald, which wasn't his original character, but, let's not get pedantic here. Here's the entire reason for the second part of the plot here. That gag was
got a lot
ripped.
to the straw.
That gag
which
of him ripped. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's basically a I believe it's a copyright-free song as well, which is what Walt had to pretty much use, which is completely understandable. And I will point out one thing before I forget. I first saw this cartoon on a VHS release of some of the best Mickey Mouses, but when this was released, though, it didn't have the part with the pigs when he's kicking off the little piglets, and that whole bit was cut out. So, yeah.
I have heard of that. The first time I saw this was on VHS as well. I had the Spirit of Mickey VHS, which came out in 1998. So I was very familiar with this cartoon. You know what? I honestly think that if I didn't have that VHS, I would not be interested so much in how things came to be, and that would basically have changed my entire, hobbies, like all of them. I think.
Yeah,
because
it's an incredible cartoon. It really is. I should also mention in 1994 that it was voted 13th in the book 50 Greatest Cartoons, which listed the greatest cartoons of all time, and it was in the National Film Registry. It was added in there in 1998, which feels kind of weird because by then it had been gone for about 10 years, up and running. So I don't know why it took them so long, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This was my favorite part as a kid when he swung that cat around and then just like flung him right under that.
I actually hated it because I'm a cat guy, but anyway, look, it's fine.
I totally understand why people who watch these early Mickeys do not like how abused these animals get. But as a little kid, I could separate them from being real animals, so I always thought it was really funny. But I can totally understand your perspective. I would never do that to a cat, obviously.
Absolutely. So here, look, I would see this part where where he's making music, and then it would sort of cut here where it would just go straight to the parrot dancing. But this part here where he's just being really mean, like I always thought it was just so bizarre. Like he kicks the pig, and the pigs are happy, and the mother looks like she's in so much pain. Like, really? That's just
Mickey was just a bad person.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, this one's just imagine seeing this for the first time in 1928. Just the synchronized sound. It's not so much that there was sound; it was the fact that it was synchronized sound. The sound was matching what was going on in the screen, and you could have movies that you maybe have the dialogue and all that as the sound, but this was just something else entirely. So,
well, the previous big star in animation, Felix the Cat, they came on to sound way too late, and even when they did, they didn't synchronize it properly. So Felix was quickly dethroned by this mouse. So you could just see how important it was at the time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we get the end. We get the last gag here. He's cutting down potatoes and kills a parrot. That is what happens, right?
Yeah, I
But
guess
you have
so.
any final thoughts as we're actually ending it? And there will be discussion afterwards, but for the actual commentary, so stick around. But Anthony, do you have any final thoughts?
It's a classic. It's a classic.
All right. So join us right after the boop, and we'll continue on. So have a good one, guys. Continue on. Boo, whoop.